We roll into turn 10. The Wei are actually our first remaining nation. Now, we've got something important here. A rebellion, I think that's against the Wei. But isn't it by the Tang? Wait, what? No, this is a rebellion against the Sui. Okay, so the fact that the Wei are still there, this is going to be kind of problematic. And like I said, Purple's in the lead, still, from their first turn to score. That seems anomalous. People who knows what's going on in the game might not have created that situation. But Blue also seems to be in a powerful position, giving them a run for it. So the Wei push down over here. Now, I would have liked to have attacked the Wiggers, but I didn't see a good option for doing so. So what I'm looking at is trying to make the Sui an easier target for my Tang and just wipe out green stuff. Yes, green's not really a problem, but they can give me more pieces and more score, so screw it. You know, we'll do what we can. That puts us on the Tungus, which are over here. That in place, the Uyghurs made an attempt into Tibet and failed. Fell back so that I had 3 pieces. I can retreat back because I stayed in Xinjiang. And I guess that brings it to the Tuzhou, who are here. Now they're gonna try to move into position to help attack the Uyghurs. Again, purple is my biggest worry right now. I don't know, you know, again, I don't know what the expected points remaining are, etc. Maybe purple has largely spent its wad. Maybe that first turn is expected to be that big, but I highly doubt it. It looks to me like they got a big advantage out of it. And we've pushed our way all the way down to the Sui. The way I look at things, I don't really think there's much of a chance of the Sui being able to do much about 4 rebellions. I mean, I could spread out and try to make it so that I'm less impacted by them, but maybe my best move is to try to set myself up. I don't know, I lose my leader. That's one thing. I'm not going to be able to get a kill over here, but maybe I can position myself so I can get a kill on the Uyghurs, or set myself up in a way that a rebellion here means that the Tang make an attack on them, because Blue would like that to happen. Crap, I forgot the Sui got points. I'm gonna stay with the move I had because I can't really unroll things. They succeeded against the Uyghurs here and actually took an area but didn't kill anything against the Wei. So each played each island. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5 points gathered. There are a number of ways I can do things here with this revolt against the Sui. I could do what the rules say and roll dice 11 to 66, hoping to hit 12, 15, 44, 45, or 56. Or I can do the more reasonable thing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to get 4 revolts on them. So I'm going to get all but 1 area hit. And there's a possibility that the Sui could be completely knocked out. Now, they do not generate any more points for the rest of the game. They got 4.5 points this turn, so it's not that big a deal in terms of that, but it is a big deal in terms of having forces on the board is useful, and denying the Tang points is useful. Of course, whatever happens, I'm probably, well, if I wipe them out during the rebellion, I don't get the 5 points for the Sui and the 5 extra armies. So in a sense, I kind of want the revolt to just clear the Sui off the board. Actually, the Sui should have been gathered together. Again, this isn't apparent without looking at this card, considering everything. They survive, with 1 piece. But that's a piece that the Tang definitely want to kill now. because it's worth 5 victory points and it's worth 5 um, 5 extra units for their second move. So definitely want to hit it. And luckily I'm positioned so that I can reach it. Do I have a leader? Oh, I should. I must have put him on the board already. Yeah, there was a... I knew there was something wrong. Okay, so I have a leader that I can place, and I have this attack, and I would like to do a follow-up to try to kill the weaker as well. So it's kind of a mixed bag of things that we're doing here. Round we failed in our attack here against the last of the Swede. That would have been the biggest bonus possible, but we had sent the leader in against the Uyghur, and so we've destroyed them. That means we're going to get the victory points. I'll count that later, but we get 2 reinforcement pips, which we can use. Among other things, we want to kill these T guys. I can't read them. Not the Tuju, the Tufan. We might be able to kill these Tonga as well. We're not going to be able to get these because they're through the way. And the other things on the board are all blue. So we can pretty much dominate the whole board. But there's a problem with that. We get victory points for how many territories we have. But those victory points aren't worth as much as wiping out nations. And there are a lot of Tang pieces that I can put on the board as reinforcements. Next turn is a big turn with a lot of people showing up. Now, some of them are me, but we've got the Song. What's up with the Song? I'm not so worried about the 10 kingdoms. That's an uprising, so that's going to be somewhat problematic. I'm going to make this attack, but I don't know if that's wise. I'm fully stacked in these 2 spaces, and I have room for only 1 extra piece here. So I don't think I really actually want to do that. I think I would prefer spreading out a little bit so that I can take the extra pieces that I'm going to get here to defend my territories. In this case, I got room for 2 extra here. This is my leader. He's not hurt. 3 extra total, 4 extra. And I'll only be I'll be gaining 7. Jesus. Ah. Yeah, you know what? Let's move there. That gives me an extra piece. Did I want something else? I mean, my chances are pretty good here, right? 5 or 6 to 6. That's the usual attack thing, but the problem is I'd be giving 5 points to green if I lose there. Jeez. I want these victory points. I'm going to do it this way. I might be getting too many pieces, but that's okay. Out of the 7 pieces that I was supposed to get, I only was able to put 5 of them on the board. I put too many in Sichuan because I think Jiangjing is a little bit less vulnerable. That's hard to tell. Who are these? Where are they coming? This is of some importance. So these are coming in Mongolia. Ooh. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. I've got to make sure to get out of their way. But we have basically generated 12.5 points and wiped out 3 nations. So, you know, that was a pretty potent turn there. I hope this was the Tang first turn. Oh, I've got another turn. I got a while before any problems happen. The next thing I have to worry about is these kittens, and they show up in Russia. Okay, yeah, I got a ton of time. I don't have to worry about the Song Rebellion. This is turn 10 up here. Turn 11 is empty. Turn 12 is the kittens. I've got a long time to play around with the tang. Yes, I didn't get as many points for territories as I might have, but the kills are really important, and that's gonna, I'm in a position where I can probably kill these Tungus, although they are gonna get an extra unit. Netted out some new victory points. Well, first of all, 12.5 points for blue. Green got its 4.5, but that killed off their Sui. The Nansano are still in existence. Red didn't lose anybody new. I'm sorry, purple didn't. Purple lost the Uyghurs. They've produced a total of 6.5, which seems a little low for them. The Tungus are still around. The Wei are still around. I don't think the Wei can produce points anymore. They're really just a tool at this point. But the Tang are now a powerful force spread throughout kind of the center and west for whatever reason. This is just because who I'm chasing down to kill. You look for the easy kills and score them. It's a very different flavor of game from most of the Britannia designs. Controlling almost everything on the board, the Wei, who can't produce any more victory points this game, except if they wipe things out, are being used completely for that purpose. Moving in here into Hainan, and then positioning ourselves to make an attack on Qinghai. This launched an attack on the Tang up here, but since we traded losses, I'm going to fall back afterwards, unless, well, the Tang have first option to retreat, and I think they're going to take it. And it's okay that I'm exceeding stacking limits or overpopulation limits, because it's not the end of my turn. So now they're actually in a weaker position where they can be wiped out more easily. But it was either that or hit the overpopulation myself. I'm never sure in these games whether you're allowed to forego taking a reinforcement and stay at the top of the list. But yeah, you probably wanted to make that attack anyhow. Even though this isn't the most pleasant thing, this is worth 7 points if I can make it to turn 12 in that condition. That's unlikely though, because blue controls the board, so it probably would have been safer standing there. Blue has gotten the rest of the actions. I don't know, it'll spread down here, and these guys, I didn't realize I had them. They're fine where they are. Because, yeah, I could be down here across the border, that's fine. Because the Tang, at this point, are spreading out, and they're going to try to finish off the last non-blue piece. Now, next turn, a whole bunch of other pieces, other countries come in again, but this is pretty extreme. You don't usually see this kind of situation in the Britannia style games where one country completely owns the board, And I could have retreated back to Xinjiang because I had something left in Qinghai, but those 2-to-1 in the mountains, they're kind of iffy, and I figure, the Tang are going to wipe me out next turn anyway, unless I do a lot to them. I'm not going to be able to get additional forces, so screw it, we'll go for a lucky shot or whatever. Well, that didn't play out. And what about these kittens? Next turn the kittens come in. They're the only ones who come in out of Russia. But they come in late, so I can position whatever I want to in their way. Well, I can't position the Tang up here, or the Wei for that matter. But anyway, such is. And I think this is the end of the turn, with the only score being 1 point over here, and we wiped something out. We wiped out a green, I don't remember what they're called. Looks like the Nansano, whatever they are. I wonder if I was not recording and then pushed recording and you got a little bit of black space. I don't know, but I just went over the scores, so whatever. And that pushes us to turn 12. I think this is a victory point turn. And that's kind of interesting because the only challenge at all is going to be those kittens. I open things up by killing off the Tungus. That gets me 2 victory points, 2 pieces, but I can only take 1. And pulled back a little bit into territories that, whatever. But what I'm looking at, territories that maybe I won't be interfering with. What I'm looking at here is, the Tang could have gotten more of an advantage if they had killed it. They'd get the pieces, whatever. But they're going to get fair amounts of production here, and I want to make sure, that I get the points, that I get the kill, and I don't know how much difference it's going to make as to how big the Tang are, because they're going to get revolted on, which isn't necessarily the best situation to be in. Now the Tang have spread out more completely, not covering everything. We're going to produce a lot of points. We could have gotten more points. There's things like we didn't have to be in these spaces, for example, and I'm not really sure. Yeah, I'm not sure why I'm in Qinghai. I think I could do something along this line. I am leaving a few spaces open, like Henan here, in case these guys need to fall back or something. If not in terms of, hey, they're allowed to retreat there, but there's retreats during your own turn, which might make sense. We'll see what happens here. The kitten's coming in, ready to attack. For this turn 12 scoring round, well, first of all, the Khitans didn't make it all the way down to Lianyang. They managed to win this battle, but this was a cancel out where they were both killed. Not worth playing a chit for, in my opinion, but here's the thing. At some point in the game, we have to make a decision. Well, Green has played its reversal already. But we have to make a decision of, when is it time to deploy those chits, right? Early in the game, it was hard to make that decision, that it was definitely worthwhile. Blue, because of their dominance on the board, is getting themselves into a position where they're in the lead, I think, at this point. Let's take a look at what's going on. So one of the things is the Shishia, they show up in Mongolia, which looks kind of bad. Hey, but they can move late in the turn, so I'd be able to run away, but there's more than that. The way nothing exciting's happening with them. The Tuju, they'll be getting a scoring on turn 15, which is beginning to come up right before the Yuan come in. But the Tang, the interesting thing about them is they disappear next turn. I guess on their move. I'm not sure, but they just vaporize. And then there's a revolt by the Song, or an uprising by the Song, which means it's not even a revolt. So they're just going to vaporize, and China is going to be open and free for everyone to do what they like. I assume that happens during their move. Again, that's not spelled out anywhere that I saw. It could just happen at the beginning of the turn before anyone moves, opening this huge power vacuum. It doesn't make much difference because the things that come in that aren't blue come in, after the Tang will have moved. But this was their last chance to do anything victory point wise, and they did quite well. They pulled 12 points, which is, on turn 10 they got 12 and a half. So they're at 24 and a half. That's almost as big as what purple got off of the chin. And our total for the turn is 20. We were already pushing close to purple's total. Right now, blue is clearly the lead in the game. Red and green are probably out of it, though. Is the real problem for them. Yeah. So that'll put us on turn 13, which is going to be down here. And I think that's it for tonight. I got to go shopping tomorrow. And yeah, I like to put L's on the end of tomorrow. And because Sunday it's supposed to rain, and without dancing going on or anything, there's no reason I can't go on Saturdays. So, this is where we are. So here in turn 13, first two nations went. That's the Wei and, I don't know, the Tujui up here. Not much excitement in either case. The Wei didn't have anyone to gain. I shifted out of Gansu because that's where the Shishi or whatever are coming in. For the Tang, they're removed. So I just pull them off and bag them at this point. And then we've got the Kittens and the Shishia and these two, 5 dynasties, 10 kingdoms. That's going to be like the other set, just showing up all over the place. And there's going to be plenty of empty space with the Tang disappearing almost in any game. And then the Song get the final word in this one. The world looks a lot emptier without the Tang on there. Now, I used maybe half the Tang counter mix, which always leads me when I see something like that to think, oh gee, you know, are they expected to be much bigger? I don't know, I don't know. Again, there may be times when you play where they maybe get bigger, but they don't have a lot of time to grow. So unless they wipe out more people or something, I don't know how much they can get. You can't get that much off the population track. Even when you have a lot of things, you get like 2 or 3 pieces a turn maximum for big empires. Anyway, that gets us down for these guys. Shixia here show up with 5 pieces in Mongolia. They're interested mainly in Gansu. That's worth 4 points. And then each plains is worth 3. So maybe I want to slip into here if the Wei will let me in or something along those lines. But because Highlands are only worth 1.5, other than Gansu. And Gansu counts as a population point. There's only 1 additional piece of theirs, so they're kind of a fighter thing. They only score once, though. Only on turn 15, just before the Yuan come in. Does that make sense? Yeah. 15's a victory point turn, and they never score any more points. They don't disappear or anything. They just, So I got to kind of figure out what the hell I want to do with them, because I can't stay in Mongolia, so I got to move into Inner Mongolia, I guess, at the very least. There aren't a lot of options. I can't just run through Gansu. A little upsetting about the 5 dynasties. They come in after 2 things went between the Tang and them. In 4 former Tang provinces in North China. Now, it doesn't say in 4 former empty Tang provinces or anything like that. I guess I can kind of remember. It's not that hard. But, so in particular, Henan was not Tang. The rest of it, I think, was. But it is kind of an annoying thing. And it also doesn't specify that they have to be empty ones, which may mean if someone else had moved into one of them, I don't know what happens, And what are they going to score? They're a moderate scoring. They get victory points on turn 13 for each army they destroy. And then they also get points at the end of turn 13 as well. And then they get points at the end, just before the Yuan move. A lot of people seem to get this. So we're going to have to remember that just before. And the Yuans and the Mongols. Okay. This during green player game turn is actually not on turn 13, because here's the turn 13 victory points. I think this is any green player game turn. They score those points. And I'm going to try to beat up some blue stuff. Inside an attempt to wipe out the Tujui or whatever. Failed. I did get a couple of points, but I would have liked to have killed more, even if it created, something of a problem for my kittens here. In terms of maybe giving a couple of extra pieces for wiping out a country to blue. Multiplayer nature of the 10 kingdoms. Purple placed its pieces, attacked Guangdong with 3, got a couple victory points off it. Red did not get those victory points, but planes are worth something. I want to move here, I guess. We can't grow, but we were hoping to wipe the way out down here. It wouldn't get a destruction of a nation, but they're the only thing down in the south. And I don't know, we don't really care beyond that. That puts us to the song. And now, and we want to leave an opening for the song. For the song, we're going to get an uprising, 9 in empty provinces led by Zhao Guangxin. And then after our move, we get victory points for each territory we have. And then just before the Yuan move, we get points for what we're holding on turn 15. It's kind of weird. I think the Yuan might be the last people to move. Yeah, they're the only ones to move on turn 15. So, or they're the only new people. The Dali come in before these dynasties and such not. So, basically, yeah, the Song come just before the Yuan. So, basically, I have one more chance to score points, and then the Yuan grab their points. What are they interested in doing? They get their major invasion with lots of forces from different places, including the Uyghurs if they're there, and then they get points. So basically everybody gets points just before the Yuan invasion, and then the Yuan come in and wipe everything out. Not that there's much left with the Tang just gone. They just collapsed into nothing. The Song uprising, I probably did a little bit too much aggression. I pushed against the Khitans, some thought of, hey, if I get lucky against them, I can wipe them out. They're worth 3 points. The Wei are worth, I don't know, it looks like, I can't tell. I can't read the number on there. 3 points. The Tang are gone, so obviously I can't wipe them out. So I actually went down here against the Wei up here, and I was prepared to go into here. Well, that's going to fail because, again, Hainan held out against everyone. So that leaves me with kind of, hey, do I want to try to kill the Shixia, which are actually worth points. They're a harder thing to kill, but that's one option. Another would be to try to generate points. The Song, remember, get 1 point per plane, a half point per highlands. So I could spread out and get more. I'm going to get 2 points for killing the Tijui, as well as 2 reinforcement armies. So it's not as bleak as it looks, but those reinforcements have to go where I've got armies, which kind of leaves me in a position where these guys can't, well, I got my leader here. So I could actually probably wipe out the kittens. It's worth more points to wipe them out. They're worth the same 3 points. Well, they're worth 3 points, which is more than the 2 for this. And they're sitting on plains, which is worth more than what I'd be sitting on if I go wipe these out. Plus, I can actually have 3 units per piece, or per area. On the other hand, shit, you know, I really want to hit blue and take some points away from them. And yeah, I should have killed this and taken the 2 points from that. That would have given me a staging area into there, and would have been a wise move, even though I get points for those guys. Oh well. So indeed I did go for this. That gave me a bunch more pieces because I killed the Khitans, although I got destroyed at the same time with one of my stacks. So that gave me 3 more pieces. So I'm kind of population limited up. Oops, I'm more than population limited, am I not? No, I got 3 pieces there, 4 pieces there, and 2 there. But I got a leader here as well, which could be killed. And that, you know, it's not optimal. I would have liked to have killed some of the blue things. The Wei, not so important, even though they're worth more points. The biggie was if I could have killed this shit, but it just wasn't looking that way. Now I gotta look to see if anybody other than the Song who's around scores anything, but the Khitans are done. So far the Song have gathered 5 points for the turn. That's not a 1, that's a bit of a racer. Kind of a weird turn with some players scoring points, some countries scoring points, some not. It's sort of like a partial, complete scoring. Well, the biggie is the kingdom scored points down here, and the Song Rebellion does. And Red ended up with a total of 9 points, 8 from the Song, 1 from the 10 Kingdoms. The only other is 2 points from the 5 Dynasties for Green. They're not still on the board. There should be a point for someone. Oh, the 10 Kingdoms for Purple scored 3 points total. Not just... These the 10 Kingdoms? Yeah. Not just the point for being on the board, but 2 more points for the death they caused. So, whatever. It's hard. It's really hard to wrap my head around where we're going. One thing to note, though, let's take a look at Green. They have everybody filled out except for the Tibetans and the Qing. Well, the Qing are big. Qing here. That's your Manchurians, I think. Let's see what else we have. Purple still has a whole bunch. They have the Yuan, that's your Mongols. Now, they probably disappear at some point. No, they just get no population points. Okay, that makes sense too. Turks, I don't know what the hell that is. The Taiping Rebellion, that's not going to be much. The Russians aren't going to be much. But then the nationalist Chinese, I assume, are going to be pretty big. So Purple has 2 more things that I think are going to score big. Red has a bunch of spaces open. The Song probably are going to score a few more points. Tartars, French, German, I assume they're all going to be fairly low points, but then the communists are probably going to be pretty big. But again, it's hard to tell, because sometimes we get big points off of things that you wouldn't suspect are going to create a lot of points. I'm looking here to see if there are any such cases. I don't see anything ridiculous so far. But there have been people who, get 3 points per territory or something, who really kind of are sandbagging their value. You're looking at it and you're like, well, they've only got 5 pieces. What the hell? That's not going to be a lot of points. Some of those little guys score the 1 point per territory. The bigger nations do. Some of them score much, much less. The Ming are quite large as well. They come in. Am I confusing them? The Minger turns 16. Let me make sure. Yeah. And where do they come in from? They're going to be a rebellion against the Yuan, so they're going to be a native Chinese empire, is what I thought, but I wanted to make sure. They could be conceivably worth a lot. But then, we look here. So these guys are 1-pointers. And, yeah, they're going to be potent. The Ming are also 1-pointers. Both of them are going to be large, but unless they do very well the way the Tang did, they're probably not going to generate a lot of points. Now we can see the Tang produced 25 points. What about... Yeah, so the Ming might well produce that again, and that's the danger that I see from blue. And what were we talking about? We were talking about green is the one with almost nothing left, and other than the Qing, Qing, whatever you want to call them, we're not seeing a lot of points. But I think most of the countries actually have one big thing left. The British and Japanese, probably going to be small points. I'm just guessing. I don't feel like zoning out on the cards and trying to predetermine, what the game's going to flow like. Obviously, if you wanted to play competitively your first time, you would do that. I would rather. I'm more the type of player who likes to rely on either reason or experience with the game. And that's a problem with the Britannia style stuff. All right. For the way go and do basically nothing, expanding out to Guangdong. The Zixia, or whatever, make a unwise attack on the Song. 2 units versus 2 units, but they got outrolled. Now, I could blow up a card on this, or a piece on it, but it's just not worth it. I'm probably going to be able to hold Gansu. I don't know. It's so hard to make the decision to use this when, maybe I want it for my Ming. So I'm going to stick as it is. I'm going to probably get the 4 points. I was hoping to get in here and have enough points to get another unit. I wasn't going to be able to destroy the Song with this, but it could put him in a weaker position. That puts us on the next one, which is the Dali, which is coming in this turn from Vietnam. We're hoping to kill the 10 kingdoms with that, get the extra points, etc. That way. For me to not notice, still would have done the same. A 4-point number of units that I had, which meant since I didn't lose anything, I didn't end up getting any recovery units for wiping out the kingdoms. That puts us on the last of this turn, the Song. Possible kill being a very low odds attack here. We spread out all over the place. Maximize our production. Honestly, I think we want this here instead of spreading that out. Yes, the Wei can come out and attack, and probably will. But we're hoping because just before the Yuan go, everybody scores points. We're the last ones to go. So, we may be able to knock someone out or something there where we won't otherwise get to. Plus, we do get our victory points right after we go, which is always a big advantage. Do we want to be this spread out? I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 1 point too little. Let's compact a little bit. That makes it much less likely we'll lose any units, and that gives us 6 instead, which will give us 2 new units, and then we're probably gone. So, no reason. I don't know if we're definitely gone. I don't think so. No. But that means, we'll be as prepared for our big victory point turn, and we don't have another one after that. It's just a matter of letting the Yuan roll over us and do a lot of damage. So that'll push it down to turn 15. That's going to be the last turn on this video, but I don't know if I feel like doing that. That looks like a complicated turn for tonight, and I'm kind of snoozy after doing shopping and all. So we'll let that one go. With what Blue's got on the board, they've run through their part of the turn. They've played fairly conservatively, so you have the Wei who don't really matter, just kind of standing back. Purple's the thing we're most worried about, so we don't want to waste our attentions on beating up on the Song. If we could even reach them, which we can't. But the Shishia, the Dali, they're trying to make them as hardened as possible. Not so much because, hey, we don't want the Yuan to hit them, but actually, well, in this case, I actually moved into range where the Song can do some damage. But elsewhere, it was really, like over here, I didn't split up because I didn't want to give the Song an opportunity to hurt me. They probably couldn't make it to Sichuan, but they could have taken Gansu away, and that would be lousy. On the other hand, with 2 population increase, and that's usually about as big as you get, right? There's a lot of territories in this game and a lot of open space, so it's possible you could go higher than that. The Tang had a counter mix for it, the Song do not. So they're concentrated over here. But here's the thing. There's no requirement for any kind of continuity or anything. So they've got like this empire here and then this little piece here. And that's common in Britannia style games, but it just doesn't feel very ancient China to me in the sense that, like, I don't know. Where it really doesn't feel right is when there's intervening territories that are controlled by someone else. Because if you've got an empty space like this, you can say, they kind of control that. It's just a little less controlled than otherwise. But again, it's the, hey, what do the pieces represent or whatever? Because you don't get population growth for this. It's not like it's an area that's helping your population or anything along those lines. And then when you get these kind of central areas, these don't matter so much in this game. What I'd call retreat locations, and I think I actually fucked up. I think I don't want to be... this is common Britannia type style action. Hey, leave spaces to fall back in, but that doesn't apply in this game. So I want the more dense situation where I can fall back on something that's closer. Space doesn't matter. What matter, except for the population, in this case the victory points. Anyway, I generated my victory points for the turn. Blue pulled in 7, and this is a special turn where the Yuan get theirs, and the Song pulled in 10.5. And now it's time for this big massive invasion of the Mongols. This is Purple's big point, well, big power. I don't know if it's their big point score. Again, you know, they got 25 points off the Qin, Quin, whatever you want to call them. And again, you know, that change is, the change from the CH to the Q forces me to always make this. I don't care if I know which one's right. There's still the suspicion that that Q was put there for a reason, like it was with other letters that they changed. So, first of all, this is the setup. A few pieces in Kazakhstan, most of them, along with Kublai Khan. Yes, Genghis led the initial invasion. I know some people kind of complain about that. Genghis is a hero for Purple, which means he has a place in the game. But it's really Kublai Khan who sort of established the long-term sort of situation. So it is fitting, but there are special rules for this. Let's go over them. They're not all in this one paragraph, but they're all referenced here, I think. First of all, it's a 3-turn invasion with reinforcements in between, so if they wipe somebody out, they get extra pieces, and they have extra pieces to get. They will never get population points. They don't have a little chit on the board. So the only way they get those extra pieces is by wiping people out. They fight as if they're a foreign power, which isn't defined here, but it is elsewhere. I think it's only hit on they hit on 3s, or they have a +1 to hit. I'm not sure which way it's worded. It's important what the difference is, and they're only hit on 6, which is a big deal. They ignore highlands and the effects of the Great Wall. Well, I went all behind the Great Wall thinking that would help. And they can pass through their opponent's territories at 1-to-1 ratio, which allows me to sweep through areas. So yeah, the terrain's not going to affect them much. Population doesn't apply, not that I would be over the limits here because they're attacking across such a broad front. But I've got the Yuan basically just attacking everywhere that they can. Now here, I can't get much penetration, so I've got a fair amount of stacking actually going on. I'm not going to be able to make it all the way. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I could. So we could even wipe out the way here, I guess. We'll see. And rather amazingly, not a single Mongol lost. They just swept and killed everything in that first round. Now they get to move again. That's going to be the end of the song. We killed something off, didn't we? Jesus. I feel like something blue died. We had way up here, Shikshia Dali. Where's the Shikshia? I think they're wiped out. So I get a couple more pieces to place and some victory points. The second round, the first round was a hard one because I had lots of attacks across a whole big front. The second round, I was able to concentrate a lot more. Again, overpopulation doesn't matter. And by wiping out the song, I get 4 more pieces that recovered. I actually took a loss this time. Careful to keep pieces back here, simply for I get a point for each plains. I want to have all the plains covered and then worry about highlands after that. And I'm really not worried about what the Ming are going to do to me. You know, I'll spread out and we'll just see what the rebellion does. And we wipe everything out. Getting probably pretty close to maximal points. Yeah, all my pieces are on the board, and I didn't take any losses in the last round, so I could have spread out as much as I like. I've got 3 extra pieces here, make it 4, make it 5, so I could have covered up to 5 other areas. I missed 2 highlands, so I'm 1 point off in terms of territorial points. Can't get to Taiwan without boats. The grand total for that was 35 points, and that's my total for the turn. No points for green, they weren't on the board. That's interesting. I think there are fair amounts of time. We've got national endings here. The song ended up producing 18.5 points over their lifetime. The Way, I'm kind of surprised about this. They produced 19 points. They've been around for a long time, but they stopped making points after a while, except if they wipe something out, which it actually looks like they did a couple. But everything's gone now. The Mongols cleared the slate, and they don't just disappear, but that's all she wrote for them. That's the turn 15 victory point thing. So I am going to load this up. I have no idea how big this video is. But I feel like this is kind of the halfway point in the game. It really isn't. The halfway point was officially back here. But this is the point where the game just shifts, right? Everything that was there, there was stuff that survived, you know, through the halfway point, through the actual split between the 2 games that are provided if you wanted to play it in a shorter version. They're gone now. All there is the Mongols, and now everything else has to arise from the ashes of whatever that is. So things like Tibet, you know, this is where I want that differentiation between the population, the peoples who are there, and the army and political control, because the reality is what arises here is the same people who were there before. You know, there are certain ways that, you know, ethnic cleansing can, genocide can destroy a people or move them out of the area. But for the most part, and then there's one other way, which is assimilation, you know, where a people stops having the same cultural association and becomes more that general population there. So what you have with like the Gallic and Roman influence is a new culture from what the Gauls were, although you possibly could keep using the Gallic people for that. But then it's differentiated by the German invasion. And then those two merge, and you have a Germanic Romano-Gaulish, combination that forms out of it. And it's not the case that the people of the German tribes just settled in what we call Germany. They settled across a whole bunch of stuff, all the way into Spain and Africa, right? I mean, they don't really exist in Africa anymore. But then they got assimilated into these areas, and the mixture that occurred, in some cases, was more or less Germanic. The Franks, the Gallic French, if you want to call it, well, the actual Gallic nature of that has largely disappeared outside of certain fringe areas like Brittany. And you've got the same thing with England, too, where Wales and Scotland, who aren't part of England, maintained their Gallic identity, even though they spent large periods of time under British rule. So it's that kind of distinguishment that I want to be able to apply, where there's a cultural and social differentiation underlying the military, political. And the Britannia game, obviously, the Britannia style game, is really just too abstracted to handle that. But it creates problems for me where I'm like, you have to script Tibet coming back, right? Instead of what I'd like to see, which I felt like invasions should have been possible to cause, which is, oh look, there's a Romano-Gallic component in France, and it is absorbed into the Frankish, and then something new comes from that. So you don't have that very Germanic Frankish side of things. Part of that actually ends up in the more German side, and you don't have an entirely Romano-Gallic people there anymore. You've got something that mixes the two. And I'm kind of thinking of something representation-wise that would look a little bit like a coin game. You don't really have the population represented in the coin game with generally with the pieces, but you have lots and lots of cubes and little pieces in there of different types that represent different types of forces. Well, I'd like to have the population forces represented, say, by those little cubes, and the military by the, I don't know what they are, little octagons or whatever. All right, let's send this. I don't know what the right term is for that, because they're extended, they're three-dimensional, but they're also not regular. So they're not like a dodecahedron or something along those lines. All right, let's send this sucker up.